Chris, is my filming going to interrupt your doing nothing over there? No? Okay. Good morning. Welcome to A Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and as of the day I'm filming this, happy World Book Lovers Day, or whatever the day is. I don't know, it's one of those days. Yeah, so filming this on Friday, which is the 9th of August, and it'll go up on the 10th. It's my weekly wrap up. I'm a little high on this. Like here. Before I get into things, I got a comment this week on an old video that I am going to take as if it were given to me in a very generous way. So there. And they were wondering about my setup here and why it's sort of uninviting. Those of you who've been around there for a while know this, but you know, I have a lot of new followers, so I might as well go through this. This, where I film, is called Boring Corner. I know it's boring. I love to see people, like, see, you know, where people are filming, what's behind them. That's all interesting. But mine is boring. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of reasons why I choose to film here. Number one, I live in a house with 3 other people. And as of right now, which is summer here in Oregon, they're all here. They're all noisy and they all operate at sort of a high level of oblivion. For example, a few months ago, I threw my back out and I had to actually film someplace else standing. And so I was standing in front of my bookshelf and I had maybe 2 feet between me and the camera tripod. And during that filming, I kid you not, 3 times my husband walked between me and the camera. 3 times. Didn't even know I was filming. Like, why else would I be talking to my camera? So this is what I'm dealing with. So this particular corner is out of the way and no one is going to hopefully bother me here. I understand it's noisy. The stairs are right there. The kitchen is on the other side of this wall and they don't seem to understand that when they bang dishes, I can hear them, but whatever. So there is that. The next issue is, the cat's getting into something. I have decided, I always think that when you're filming, you should do whatever is comfortable for you. That is the number one thing, is it needs to be comfortable for you. And I have learned that I am comfortable sitting at a table. I'm not comfortable standing. I'm not comfortable sitting with nothing in front of me. I'm comfortable sitting at a table. And the places where I can do that are limited. This is one of them. I could do it at my kitchen, but we're going to get to point 3 now, which kind of goes into why I don't go film in my kitchen. Is I don't know. Our house is we bought it new construction in 2007. And I don't know if it was an energy saving thing or what, but lighting is weird in this house. Like there is here, but there isn't a lot of overhead lighting except like in the bedrooms. And I think it might be energy saving. They just assume you're going to have lamps everywhere. Because of that, there's not a lot of places with great lighting in my house. This is one of the few. I have a window right here with the shade that I can up and down as I need. Now my kitchen is right next to the sliding glass door and there I have too much light. So I've tried filming there. It doesn't work out. There's also the issue that my house is a mess. So I try to film a place where you don't see that. Just saying. So light wise, this is the place. So yeah, all those go together into that Boring Corner is the place where I normally film. I can sometimes film in the backyard. I am not doing that right now because on Friday mornings is also garbage day and the garbage trucks are going by. But you know, if the weather's not good, I'm not going to film out there. You know, during the winter, it's kind of pointless because there's nothing on the trees. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I film here in Boring Corner. And I do want to say something else that, yes, I kind of like seeing what's behind people because it's kind of like a peek into their lives, but I don't actually care what's behind you. When I watch a video, I watch it to see what you're saying about books and to learn something about you. So whether or not you have a beautifully curated bookshelf behind you or a basically empty wall in a corner, I don't care. I don't care. It means nothing to me. You do you. You do what feels comfortable to you. Okay, and as I said, someone was just asking about it on an older video that popped up. Someone who'd never commented before. So anyway, I thought I would just address that. So there we go. How are you all this week? I am doing just fine and dandy. I have my protein coffee. You know, life is still hopeful, so that's okay. I forgot to put a pin on. I'll only put a pin on for you. Put this one on because it's right here. I am going to do some batch filming today, so I don't know, maybe I'll remember to switch my pin. It's not sticking in. There's my pin. And it's the first month of mid-month book bash, so I am doing a vlog this weekend, and for a change, I have things you might actually want to see in this vlog. Tomorrow, we're going to a church thing at someone's lake house, so that'd be pretty, and I can show you footage of that. On Sunday, I have like a 4-hour-long Girl Scout Service Unit Summit and team meeting, team retreat. That's not going to be fun, and I'm not going to film it, but at least I'm doing something. But yeah, so I'll talk more about what I'm currently reading in that vlog. Usually I focus on these of what I've finished through the week. Let's see, so let me get into that. I finished 4 books. I DNF'd 1, and I mentioned this in my Wednesday with Will, which I know is not a widely viewed video, and that is perfectly fine. But I soft DNF'd Shylock Is My Name by Howard Jacobson. The reason I did was because I was listening to it on audio, and it just wasn't, the audio was not working for me. I think I'm actually going to really like it when I read it, which I will do at some point in the future, but I just, the audio wasn't working. So it's an NRN, a not right now. It has nothing to do with the book, just the audio wasn't a good fit for me. So that leaves 4 books I did finish. 1 is Book 2 prize, so put a pin in that one. I'm not going to talk about that, but I will talk about the other 3. Because I have things to say about the other 3. So the first one I finished is a book called All That's Left Unsaid by Tracey, Lien. I read this for my library book club. Now, part of me was like saying, I've never seen this on BookTube. I don't know if anyone's read this book. It needs to get more coverage. But when I did my July book haul, I talked about the book Forever by Peter Hamill. Like, I'd never heard of this book. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I love that book. I saw the TV show. Sue said she saw the TV show. And I'm like, how did I not know about this book? I felt so out of it. But anyway, I'm going to assume, because I personally have not seen people talk about All That's Left Unsaid by Tracey Lien, that it is not a widely read book on BookTube. And I kind of think it should. It was actually, I liked it. I will say I liked it probably more than the rest of the people in my book club, but I liked it. It is a literary mystery. It is set in Australia, and it is set in a town whose name I can't remember. It's one of those Australian towns that have, you know, a name that's kind of unusual to an American, where there's like a little Saigon. So there are a lot of Vietnamese immigrants in this town. And the story is there is a young woman named Key. Now I want to point out that at the beginning of this book, they do a thing like how it's pronounced Key and not Kai or K or whatever. And Kai, I think is how they said it. It immediately in my mind, it got into Kai. I was saying Key before that, but it's Key. Key is the name. And she has returned home because her brother, who's I think 7 years younger than her, has died under mysterious, not really mysterious, died violently. He was basically beaten to death at a restaurant. And there are questions about what happened around it. And she has left home. She's in her early 20s. She's gone off to be a journalist in Sydney or Melbourne, some big city in Australia. And so she goes home and she has to go back and deal with her parents. Her parents are the refugees. She was born in Vietnam, but she came to Australia as a child. Her son was born in Australia, but her parents came to Australia as adults. So they were dealing with the refugee kind of adjustments and how that's handled. She also had a friend who is no longer in her life, who played a really big part in her growing up. Who is also a Vietnamese refugee that she has, you know, unresolved issues around, pretty serious ones. But Key decides that she wants to find out what happened to her brother. Her parents are just not, they didn't get the information from the police that she feels that they wanted. She thinks her father was drunk and just not dealing with it. And her mother's just like, I don't want to know, which that gets addressed a bit more later in the book. It's not quite that. And she starts going through and interviewing people, and we get the book from different people's points of views. I really enjoyed this book. I thought parts of it were really powerful. I will say the literary mystery was a frame for it more than what it was, because it was really more of an in-depth study of the immigrant experience and the ideal of the model minority. But I really enjoyed this book. I think people liked it in my book group. They probably didn't like it as much as I did, but I thought it was really good. It put me in mind, for several reasons, of Wandering Souls by Cecile Pin. So if you liked that book, you might like this one. This one's a little less, this one has a little more humor. It's a little less emotional, I guess. I don't know how to put this. I don't want to say it's less literary because that's not fair, but just its take on it is a little bit different. But there are a lot of parallels. If you liked Wandering Souls, you might really like All That's Left Unsaid. So I do recommend that book. I gave it an A, or did I give it an A+? Let me look there. I gave that an A+. So that's All That's Left Unsaid by Tracey Lien. So the next book I finished is the one that I have physical right here, and that is Evil Under the Sun by Agatha Christie. This is my August Agatha Christie book, which really was perfect because Evil Under the Sun is a good book for August. So as I was saying when I kind of introduced this in my August TBR pop video, I'd actually already seen the Perrault adaptation of this, but I misremembered things and I mushed things together and they made changes. So I was very... it was interesting because I was trying to map this on what I remembered, which was not accurate of the show, what I remembered, and it didn't fit. So I was like, what's going on here? It was pretty good. I liked this one. It was pretty straightforward for Christie. Christie's usually a little bit less straightforward than this, but there was one point that I kind of felt like the clue was a little... She really tried to point you at something, and it was more obvious than I've ever seen Christie be before in my reading of her. So there was that. But the mystery itself was pretty strong. A lot of people, I was listening to the, I gave this an A, by the way. I always have to look and see. I gave this an A. A lot of people or not a lot of people, the All About Agatha podcast compare this a lot to Death on the Nile, the book, not the short story, because there's two of them. Which I didn't really see there, because I think at the Death of the Nile, at the heart of that, there's something very different than there is at the heart of this. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It kept me going. I still think that I think this came out in 1941. So I'm really, I think, at sort of the apex of Christie at the moment. I'm really in her golden age of books, but I quite like this one. The Perrault adaptation was not great, by the way. One thing that did confuse me is they gender swap one of the characters in here. So I was like, what is going on? Did I remember that right? Is this a totally different thing? And then there was I remember something from a Perrault episode that I saw that I didn't think was put to this mystery, but I think after reading this, it probably was, which was also confusing. So any confusion around it was my own fault. But I enjoyed Evil Under the Sun. The next book I finished was my BookTube prize book. And then finally, I finished, I shouldn't say finally, because I was reading this for 4 days. But I did have to get it done because tomorrow, as I'm filming this, today, as you see this, I have my book club tonight. And that is Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger. This is the second book by Darcie Little Badger that I've read, and it is for my marginalized authors book group. The first one I read was A Snake Falls to Earth, which I gave an A to. And that's kind of important because do other people do what I'm going to tell you I did? Because they're both written by the same author, I immediately, when it came to evaluating this book, grading it or rating it or whatever you want to say, I immediately compared the two. Because I had given A Snake Falls to Earth to an A, I didn't feel like I could give this an A because I did enjoy A Snake Falls to Earth a little bit more. So I gave this one a B+. That doesn't mean I didn't like this book. B+ is still a good grade. I did feel, as someone who fantasy is not my go-to genre, I did feel that the magic system and the world was better defined, better conveyed in A Snake Falls to Earth. I felt it was a little chaotic, not chaotic in a way that was probably intended in Elatsoe. But again, not really my genre, so that's fine. But I also felt this one felt a little, I mean, they're both YA books, but they're pretty much YA books because the characters are teenagers. Doesn't have a lot of that angst and stuff like that going on, especially not in A Snake Falls to Earth. There's a little bit more of it here, but not a lot. So if that's that turns you off of YA, I wouldn't worry about that. But I still thought it was a very powerful story. a lot of fantasy sort of metaphor for colonization and things like that. I'm not going to say much more about it because I am going to discuss it in my book club tonight, tomorrow, tonight, whatever you see this. So anyway, that was my reading week. So 4 was pretty good. I have a lot of books going, which you will see if you look down below, because I'll put down below everything that I will mention which booktube prize book I finished. I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm not going to give you any idea of what I thought about it. You need to hold on until October 1st. Is that right? Yes, October 1st, and then you will know everything. I only have one booktube prize left book to read, so then we're done. I'll put down everything that I mentioned here, plus everything that I currently have going, which is a lot because I'm trying to finish this off. I know it still looks like there's still a lot of empty squares, but some of these are in progress. For example, an old favorite is in progress. Poetry is in progress. Disabled author protagonist is in progress. And a how-to book will be in progress by the time you see this video. So there are, things are in progress. And I have until August 31st to finish that. So yeah. So that is really my reading week. You will know a lot more about at least my weekend because mid-month book bash is this month. So yeah. So stay tuned. I think the next video you will probably see from me, unless I come up with, I decide to do a tag, which right now I don't have planned, but who knows, that could happen. But the next video you'll probably see from me is my announcement of our September Shakespeare play on Wednesday, and then the mid-month book bash vlog on Thursday. Is that right? Yes, I think that's right. Anyway, thank you very much. Yeah, 5 on Friday will be back, probably the week after next, because remember, it's either Wednesday or Friday with me, because I'm trying to get things under control. Okay, I'm really done now. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.